Welcome everyone to a session Infrastructure and Application Management using SaltStack and VMware vRealize Orchestrator. Just a quick introduction. My name is Pradnesh Patil. I am a product manager on VMware's vRealize suite of the products, our cloud management platform. I wasn't always a product manager. When I started my career in computer science, I started with being IT admin. That was about 10 years back. We didn't have Salt or something cool like that at that time, so a lot of scripts and stuff. I started with IT admin, switched into application engineering, did a lot of things in last decade or so, consulting, entrepreneurship and so, and now I work for VMware as a product manager. With me today, I have also Adi Kulkarni. If you can please stand up, Adi. Adi is a rock star engineer from SaltStack. He worked on the integration piece that we are going to talk about. And I also have Bruce George from our technical marketing team. Bruce is a solution architect on our team. So both Adi and Bruce, even CR in back there, all of these three engineers, they worked on this integration piece that we have available. So how we have structured the session for today is joint value of the solution. So when we are talking in the keynote today, Vipul from VMware a little bit talked about what's the added value we can provide with the usage of VMware products and as well as SaltStack, Salt, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that on the joint value of the solution. I'll present some of the use cases that we are targeting through this integration. I will go a little bit into how that value is translated between VMware and Salt. Then we'll get into the second piece of the session. So for the first piece, I'm kind of going to keep it limited because it's all slides. Who likes to see a lot of slides, right? The second piece is main meat of this session, which is a demo piece. So Bruce will walk us through the demo of this integration. He will talk about the architecture and how to execute on this integration. And then the third piece is also the demo of that delivery, and during that piece, I'll also invite Nitin, who was there on stage for the keynote, in just talking a little bit about the session that he also has tomorrow, which is about the driver that you can use for the infrastructure deployment, okay? During the session, we are saving some time in the end for questions, so please feel free to ask questions in the end. Most of the questions hopefully will have answers on the slides or in the demo, but please feel free to ask questions in the end. We are being recorded, so as being VMware, we are a publicly traded company, so there might be some boundaries that we might need to manage in sharing the information. But if you are a VMware customer, if you have a super specific question that I cannot answer on the recording, after the session we'll hang around, so please feel free to come back and ask those questions. So starting with the joint value of the solution. So in that, we have this great Salt solution with the Salt modules and states. On top of that, how we can add the UI layer to that solution. So on the VMware side, I'll go into the details of the blueprints and modeling capabilities that we have, how we can add UI to the Salt modeling. That's the one thing. The second thing is control through policies. So VMware, we have a lot of policies on, say, vSphere layer. We have a lot of policies on the networking layer. How we can elevate those policies and how you can kind of stitch those together with your Salt deployments and can use those together. That's the second piece on the value side. And then the last piece is published to the self-service catalog. So on the VMware side, we have something called a service UI, service catalog, where different users can just go in, request the different services they have, and they can just consume it without even filing the tickets and stuff. So how you can integrate Salt there so that when it comes to Salt consumption, not everybody in the organization is Salt expert, how they can consume those services through the self-service UI with this integration. So the use cases that we are targeting, I'll quickly touch on this because we covered this in a keynote as well, is a minion bootstrap. So installing that minion through multiple possible mechanisms, so SSH, PowerShell, or whether VMware tools you want to use for that minion installation and also authorization piece through the key exchange. The second piece is more about role assignment and role modification, whether you are using individual states or you are using role mechanism. That should be also possible through this integration. Some of these use cases we continuously hear when we talk with the customers. And then the last piece is basically, okay, you have done your work. Now it's a tier down piece. Now I want to do a cleanup. So say you can always just delete the machines. Your Salt piece is gone. But a lot of customers we talk with, they want to do this cleanup phase separately before destructing the machines. So how we can do the cleanup of Salt minions before actually destructing the machines. So to build this integration, we have chosen a vRealize Orchestrator platform, which is VMware's Orchestrator. This platform, it has a UI as well as it has an API that you can talk to. So if you want to integrate your CI/CD systems with this solution, you should be able to do that with the API calling. The benefit of going with the Orchestrator platform is what we were thinking. We will build this integration in the Orchestrator, which is just a platform, so that any other VMware products that you may be using, you should be able to consume that integration through the Orchestrator, because all of VMware products talk with the Orchestrator. And if you're just using our Orchestrator, you should be able to use it through Orchestrator UI or just the API. And it gives, actually that platform gives us a couple of benefits. One is the implementation that we are going to show you today. It's extensible. So I know we are VMware and we try to hide our code sometimes, but this is an extensible implementation. So you will see all of the things that we have implemented in the format of workflow. If you need to customize it as per your environment, or you have some specific use case that you want to add into, you should be able to extend that. The second piece is independent of product releases. So again, it's a platform for building integration. It lives outside of the product. So we are planning to host this integration on our marketplace, absolutely free of cost, as well as we have plans to host it on Salt's repository of partner integration as well. So it will be independent of product releases. The benefit of that is we don't have to wait for Salt for their releases. No, just kidding. If there is some new functionality that we want to do here, we should be able to do it quickly and not really wait for big product releases and stuff on both companies' side. And the quick availability of new features. Salt is so fast, spinning out new features every quarter, even every month. Community is very aggressive. So if there is some new features that customers want, we should be able to integrate with that. So before I go into showing that value on top of VMware and everything, I want to spend just a couple of minutes on how exactly this maps into VMware's portfolio. Because you know VMware, it's a very big company. There are a number of different products, and so it's very easy to get confused. So first thing, this bottom layer, which is our infrastructure layer. So you know vSphere, ESXi, vCenter, so compute virtualization. We are also making products in the network virtualization and storage virtualization. We think of management solutions as catalysts to this infrastructure platform. So on the management side, we have Orchestrator, so vRealize Orchestrator. vRealize is our new brand name. vRealize Orchestrator. We also have vRealize Automation, which is our automation solution. We have vRealize Operations, which is operation solution, you know, monitoring, dashboarding, doing troubleshooting based on alerts and stuff. And then the last piece we have there is vRealize Business, which is a costing solution. It will give you costing across, yes, VMware infrastructure as well as other infrastructure. So Hyper-V, KVM, IBM software, and all those things, you'll get costing there, even different public clouds. So in that front, I'm going to get a little bit deep into vRealize Automation, because that's where that UI and governance piece lives in. So in the UI piece, we have this Canvas Designer where you can design all of your deployment. I'm showing a UI, but the same thing should be possible through a YAML format as well, you know, infrastructure as a code. So you should be able to define this thing. So in context of this integration that we have built, you see this is a pretty complex deployment with 3-tier application. You know, I have virtual machines here, JBoss, MySQL. So the idea here is if you want to use Salt to configure your OS, or if you want to use Salt for deploying or configuring your JBoss or MySQL, you should be able to just drop your states or roles in this model, in this blueprint mechanism. So with that integration, that's the whole idea behind this. One orchestrator workflow I have here is totally different. It's verify software licenses. I'm not sure how clear the image is to you, but it reads verify software licenses. So you should be able to have your own custom workflows like that as well, take a backup or something like that. And since this entire integration flows through Orchestrator, you should be able to drag and drop those components. So it's kind of an attempt to give solid UI to SaltStack as well, and also giving infrastructure as a core functionality. That's first piece. The second piece is the kind of extension of a UI. This is a in-product functionality where we have a self-service UI, service delivery UI, where user logs in, they see different components. So the model I showed you earlier, a user should be able to consume that same model here as well. So they go in, they hit the request button, and they will be presented with forms with the different parameters. So they can specify which salt states they want, what are some of the parameters they want for salt. And this is very helpful for, you might have users who are not that salt expert in your organization. So you can expose those salt services to your rest of the organization in this way. The next one is governance piece. I'll quickly explain how it works, and you can apply the same piece on integration as well. We work with AD integrations and stuff, so you have users, you can create groups. To those groups, we have this concept of reservation, with which you can create slices of your infrastructure. So on user side, say, very simple, I have 3 teams, A, B, and C. You create reservations for these teams on your different infrastructure, and then you can map those slices of infrastructure to your different teams. And to all of that, the model I showed you earlier, that nice UI, that's a blueprint, to that you can add the blueprint. So in these blueprints, you have specific salt components, and you can add that governance through policies and reservations on top of that. Even all of the other vSphere and storage policies, we should be able to elevate. This is something extra. So in addition to some of the vRealize products I explained, we also have a product to create a CI/CD pipeline so that you will be able to propagate different artifacts between different stages. So the idea with this is you have pipeline. You should be able to build a pipeline with CodeStream. You should be able to do artifact management, dashboard for different pipelines and stuff. In that, you should be able to attach SaltStack or any other different tools. So if you have some specific tasks that need to be run by Salt, you hook up those things in the CodeStream operation, and we should be able to execute those tasks. Right now, you can also do this right now by, say, calling Salt API directly. But with this solution, we have already done some of that work for you. So you can just take it. If you need any extensibility, you can add some more things there. So that's the whole idea. So with that, I'll hand off to Bruce, who will actually get into the details of solution, how the solution architecture will look like.
Okay.
Please, Bruce.
Thank you. And then my slides are next.
Yeah, your slides are next.
Okay. So I know I'm here to do a demo, and I love doing demos more than slides, but I do have to have a few slides just to talk about the plugin that we've done. We're going to focus on VRO, and then we're going to also take a look at how that would look in vRealize automation. So let's get going. So this is just a layout of the workflows that we're providing in VRO. How many people know what vRealize orchestration or vCenter orchestration? And do you guys use it, or do you just know about it? You're attempting to use it. Do you find it easy, hard?
I'm not one of the primary people, but they found it a little difficult just because we lack some of the foundations.
Okay. So we're going to go over some of the workflows. The initial will be a package file that you'll be able to load, and I'll show you how to do that today in the demo. The main thing is to be able to connect and disconnect Salt masters, install and configure the Salt menus across Windows and Linux. Do some of the standard accept and delete keys for both, commissioning and decommissioning VMs, and then they execute modules and set states. And then we have a couple examples that we include within the plugin that will plug into vRealize automation. Okay? And then just some of the versioning support that we've been testing. We'll be continuing to add more support as we have newer or if looking at older versions. And then just really quickly looking at the architecture. vRealize being what we were focused on building the plugin for. So it uses the REST Salt API, Cherry Pie that we plug into and connect. And then the ability to do either VM tools, SSH, or PowerShell to install the agent. And then the plugin talking directly to the Salt master. Okay? And that's pretty much it for the slides that I have. So let's, while I get set up here to do the demo. So this is a live demo, so you know. Fingers crossed, right? You hate to. So for those of you who are familiar or not familiar, this is the login screen to vRealize Orchestrator. I just have to have a clean platform here. So I'm going to log in here. Maybe I should have already logged in. Okay. So this is the main palette when you're logging in to, let me see if I can make it. There we go. And everybody can see. Okay. So we want to go into the design area, and we're going to load the package quickly. This is what you get. So you can see that in the library section, you get a ton of, we have hundreds of predefined workflows and actions with all the plugins from Virtual Center to SQL Server, SSH, SNMP, REST, and SOAP. So we're going to go over to the package section, and we're going to load the Salt package. I already have downloaded it. So we're going to select it, open it. It's going to ask to import and trust provider. I hope you trust what we're doing here. So this is the list of all the workflows that are going to be imported. We're just going to import right in.
And just to add some clarification, we are showing you UI mainly, but the same things are possible through API as well. So
Absolutely.
If you want to consume these things through API, it should be possible.
Okay. So now we've loaded the package. We'll go back over to our library, and we can see that we now have a SaltStack set of workflows. Going in here, we're going to easily configure by adding a Salt master. So I've already pre-configured a Salt master. It just happens to be on Ubuntu with the Salt API Cherry Pie setup. So we're going to connect that. As simple as selecting the workflow. I apologize, I get going fast and not explaining what I'm doing. I can either right-click or I can select up in the center here, the Start Workflow. It's going to ask for either a fully qualified for the Salt master. I'm just going to use an IP address. And then I just use the default port. And then this is a common name that you want to add. My Salt master. Click that. It'll go through the workflows and add to the inventory. So basically, we've already connected our first Salt master to it. Just to show you and validate that it's working, I happen to run a ping minion just to make sure. And you can see that you have inventory. You can keep adding more Salt masters, and it can be selected here. Your target type of data, there's various from glob to list, but we'll leave it as the default. And we're just going to put it in asterisk and get a return back here. We use several different, the two different authentications are PAM or LDAP. We're just going to use the local one. So salt admin.
One thing I would like to mention is through these workflows, when you add these salt masters, this product has something what we call inventory. So that salt master information will be stored inside the product. So you just add it once, and then you will be able to refer it in any other integrations that you do.
Thank you. Okay, so we run it, and we can see through that it returned that the salt master, and this is just an example to show that it was easy to add, and we can start now running salt workflows. So we're going to actually move over to a kind of a pre-configured environment that I have.
Excuse me?
Yes?
What exactly are you on? What end goal are you showing in the demo? I'm swimming. Like you just deployed a salt master. That wasn't deploying a whole virtual machine that's a new salt master and then deploying minions to it, was it? Like what?
So that was just configuring the plugin and then tying it to a salt master so it can talk to the salt master.
You set up the minion config, and then you set up another job to push it to the minion.
So I've just set up VRO, vRealize Orchestration, to talk to a salt master. What I'm going to show you next is how you would go out and create a salt minion, right, and through an automation. And then after that, we're going to go over how you would deploy a full-blown application. And so you would automate that through vRealize automation. So
The step that you just took was just to connect VRO to salt.
right, so install the plugin and just connect it to a salt master. Okay, thank you.
It sounds like it's making the VRO into the salt minion.
So no, it's
That proxy minion.
It's SSHing out to your salt master.
actually it's using the REST API, so the Cherry Pie API, to talk to the salt master. So all we've done right now is we've taken VRO to talk to the salt master.
Okay.
So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at so we have an infrastructure of VMs that we have here. Some are already deployed. What we'll do is we'll show how it gets deployed from end to end. So it'll be a VM and then also deploy an application. But I wanted to show how that would get done. So looking at some of the workflows, we really split it into three components for building out and configuring minions. So we can create a minion that will actually install that. So some customers want really thinned down templates. Our focus here really is around managing VMs, not so much physical infrastructure here or even ESX. So the templates themselves are very thin and do not have the minion installed on it. So this function here, right, will then go out and create, basically log in through SSH, VM tools, or PowerShell. And this one just happens to be using VM tools.
The VM's already deployed.
So these are, but I'm going to show you how you would do it. Whether you deploy the whole VM. I'm just trying to do it a step at a time. And I'm just putting in the root password. And no arguments are needed here. And I'm just going to run this right now. And this will go out and start installing and configuring it so that we configure it. So now, while that's running, the next piece would be to configure the salt master. Let's say some companies just want to configure the salt master, but already have the minion already baked in the template. You would only run this configuration to configure which salt master that you want to do. So let's see. It does take a few minutes to install, so that's why I was going to run through the next piece. So this would then install here, right? Based on the Salt Master, you would select the VM again, and it would then just configure the Salt Master that it would be assigned to. And then after that, what the whole workflow would look through, hold on, I apologize. So this workflow is what creates the Linux minion, configures the Salt Master, and then accepts the keys inside. So it goes out to the Salt Master and will accept all the way through. Does that make sense? Any questions there? That does, like I said, takes a few minutes, so we'll come back and take a look at that in just a few minutes. So one of the things that we can do is once all of your Salt minions are set up, through VRO, we can also run execute modules. So I already have some pre-configured ones here.
So
Yes.
couple of things I want to add. We are showing you different workflows, so like pieces. But say in your organization, if your cases are, okay, I want these pieces only, and I want to execute this in a one flow, you can combine all of these pieces together and have one giant workflow. So it will be like one automation workflow to cover all of the use cases. That's one. And then the second thing is, I think now Bruce will show you some of the specific modules. But how this integration has been written is you should be able to use any of the modules. So we are not limiting on the availability of modules or anything like that.
Okay, so it's actually gone out and installed it on that VM. You can then now execute it to go out and configure it for that specific Salt. And these are really quick. I was just showing them individual components. And again, this will just restart the service.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm not
Go ahead.
quite following you. So is the objective here to use VRO to deploy a VM that we're turning into a Salt minion, and we're hooking onto the master so it knows how to accept those keys once the VM spins up? Is that
Yes, yes. So there are two pieces to that. One is you want to provision VMs through VRA, VRO combo and then do extra things on Salt. Okay, so then you can combine it. The second thing how you can do it is you want to provide VMs directly through Salt, whatever your use case may be. And I will also have Nitin on the stage in the end. He'll talk about the driver you can use from the Salt side. Just give you a glimpse. He has a separate session on that tomorrow, but just to give you that glimpse. The idea with this is when you try to use VR and VRO, I don't know your specific use cases, but say if you need UI or if you need more governance on the Salt side, which is kind of Salt, those areas are being developed in Salt. So in the meantime, if you need that, you should be able to use this solution. That's the whole idea.
So your use cases, and let me reiterate what you're saying in what I think is a salient way. If your use case is that you have your VRO shop, and you've already got your RBAC set up so that you have users provisioning their own VMs and kind of doing their own self-service, you can allow them to hook into some existing SaltStack infrastructure that may be controlled by somebody who has more rights or something like that. Because right now what you've showed us is basically how to replace VRO with Salt.
No. It's not that. It's a bridge. What we are showing you is a bridge between VMware and Salt right now. So if you are using VRO, how you can consume those services and say some of these things I talked about during the slides. So if you want to expose those services for people who are not Salt experts and stuff, that's what we are showing you. The idea with that is, so this bridge, you can walk in both directions, right? You can go from VRO to Salt. You can also walk from Salt to VRO.
Okay.
So Salt to VRO is a driver. VRO to Salt, it's a UI piece and an orchestrator integration that we are showing now. So the first walk we are showing right now. Tomorrow, I think Nitin in his session, he will show that walk from Salt to VRO or VMware as well. Question there?
I knew you wanted to say questions there. I can answer that.
Sure.
With the RDAC, that's for the top level, when he was talking about the blueprints. The blueprints are tied to workflows. And so with workflows, you've got two choices. It's either you're going to carve out your own process to do all the salt stuff, to get the minions connected to the master, or what they're providing is what he seems like a bridge. This will automatically do it, so when they click the blueprint, they'll pop up the form, they can enter in what the name of the pup master is, the IP address, it ties all that stuff together, automatically do that for you.
Yes.
You've got all your minions connected to the master.
Yes, yes. So that's the whole idea. If you want to do it through UI and governance layer, so that's the added value we are trying to provide there.
So your RDAC, what workflows they see here, or what blueprints, right?
Oh, so yes. So now Bruce is showing you the catalog, how it will look in the UI. But in the background, you have that VRO engine. So first initial workflows, he showed, okay, set up my salt master. Because for that bridge, it's important to know where my salt master is or how you are installing minions. So there are multiple options. That's the initial setup work. Once that's done, you can go into the UI and use the governance and all of those things. Okay.
So I was thinking of the end result. I want to use Salt to be able to, and I guess this is more of a Salt cloud, or use Salt to be able to self-provision or spew off, states to provision VMs.
Yes.
And how those VMs existed in vSphere and all that stuff. So
Yeah, so you can do it that way as well. So if your VMs are already...
that's not this workflow, right?
So there is a workflow for that as well. So for example, imagine your VMs are already created and now you are using Salt. So there are multiple ways on consuming those VMs. You can either use Salt Bootstrap just to get the node bootstrap. But in addition to that, if you want to say, there are different customers, everybody has different use cases. If you want to use, say, VMware tools or PowerShell or something like that, you can just take the workflow and use that as well. Sorry to interrupt you, Bruce.
So the end goal here is to reiterate. I was showing you sort of the low level, starting how we install the plugin and tie to the Salt Master. But the end goal really is to be able to provision a full application. We're using VRA to actually build out and deploy the VMs. And then on top of that, we layer on the Salt minion to do really the OS level and application level deployment. That's really the goal here. Yes?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So ultimately I had, and I'll show you the blueprint once I kick it off. So this is using WordPress. It was one of my favorite demo ones. So you would request a WordPress application, and then you get kind of what we've created. Now this is a very simplified view, and then you could either select whether how big you want it, whether you more memory, storage, and any additional properties. But down here, this is our integration to Salt to be able to add, and this is using a state job run where, and pillars, right? Because you guys know that WordPress basically installs MySQL, PHP, Apache to build all that out for you. So here, you can also pass parameters through. So, right, so my Salt blog and some administrator, right, Salt admin, and I didn't hide the password, so, and then I can send it to me, my VMware. And then I can submit that, and it's covered up, and you're exposing you, and whether it's your admins or your customers that want to order these platforms, it can be WordPress, it could be any type of Windows type application, all combined to be able to deploy that. But we can also do additional. But let's quickly look at the request, and as it's building out, it's going to run some of those workflows that will actually go out and install the minion, component, register it with the master, and then kick off the job. So let's quickly take a look. So you can see that it's in progress right now, and at some point it will build out another VM here, and we'll come back and take a look right there in the GUI for Virtual Center. But let's take a look at what built that is under the design. So Pradnesh showed you the blueprint.
So
And
I showed you one of the model blueprints. Say if you want to use that same blueprint with the Salt integration and stuff, this is very simple, but this is how it would look like. You'll take that workflow that has been built as integration. We would drop that there. Depending on your use cases, which workflows you want to consume, you can just drop those in the model.
So we're using Virtual Center, but you could see we could use KVM, OpenStack, or any of the other platform types. Those are dragged in and configured here. The component that was for Salt is to be able to tell it that this gets provisioned first, and then we're going to invoke a state change using a WordPress pillar. Okay? And then these are the input values. Now, granted, you didn't see VM there, but this gets passed when this gets created, whether it's this or, again, any of the other components underneath. We can also layer on additional networking and other components to this, right? Security and networking. Again, this is relatively simplified here. Any questions about the components that we add here? All of this can be exportable into a YAML type format and stored in versioning for these blueprints. Yes?
So again, what does that do to your underlying pillars and your state?
So the question is, what does this do to our underlying pillars?
Yeah, because you just said you're passing all that data back to a salt filter, right?
Absolutely.
It's got a password in it, so you've got a secrets problem. So is that a GPG encrypted pillar that you're passing the data back to? Okay, so then you're applying something to the state of that machine with install application, install WordPress. What is the state file end up looking like? Or are you just running command doc, like basically it just applies the state via the install command?
Yes, your last statement. So, right, Adi, do you want to, can you handle?
Sure.
Go ahead.
The way that this formula is run is using state.sls, and
Right.
the pillar gets passed, like you
Right.
said. And that's it is the community WordPress formula, and this makes some /WordPress, yeah.
Okay, so if I wanted to go in and rebuild this machine, because maybe got hit with, bad Microsoft patch or who knows what, something we couldn't roll back, right? There's no, is there not a defined state for that machine inside Salt? Or is it just ephemeral where you're just adding stuff to it and it never really makes it back into a YAML in your state tree?
You would have the state on the salt master if that's I'm trying to
No,
understand.
Right, so
I'm not sure.
let's say I have we run a situation all the time, right? We have a state called SQL Server, right? And 3 months down the road, it's got 10 terabytes of data on it. And we want to add the Oracle client because somebody wants to do link servers to an Oracle database or something. So you can come in and you apply the configuration into the state that says add the Oracle client into this particular machine. How are you maintaining the state? And then next week they come and say, we want to make it a cluster. We want to build it exactly like the other one. We just want to apply clustering. So you want to take that state and somehow copy it with that role and make it a role and then copy it. So how are you updating the Salt
Okay.
configuration?
So maybe I can answer that. So this is state consumption. We are not modifying actual states.
So how do you build a state from something that you've already got built? Like how do I go out and say, this is what this guy is?
Yeah, so the whole idea with that is in your state tree. So you gave the example of Oracle patch or maybe something else you want to do.
Right.
We are not going in and modifying your states. You figure out that problem, okay, this is how I'm going to fix it, this is the modification, and then you consume that basically in this model. So suppose you have this exposed on that service catalog, your users are consuming it. You change that state in there, it will be changed for your users as well.
So, but you still have a problem where you're managing drift between what's being done and what's configured.
Yes, so for that, whenever we give you functionality to specify which states to add, we do a query to sort master and get list of all of your states. That's how we stay in sync, and then we will pull the states.
Okay.
So we won't add new states, we'll pull whatever states you have in sort master, and you will be able to consume those here.
Are you
Yeah, yeah.
So then, yeah, you have to
Who
go
knows
back
what the
and you
future
have to
holds.
modify the workflow to take in those new
Right,
parameters.
so you have to make changes in two places to accommodate this to be basically.
No, so the,
That's right. But think self-service, so that's the point. It's the dynamic parameters that think if it's a development environment, you've got, 10 teams. They're all gonna have their own, user
Sure, I mean,
password.
you can come back to solving for your 80% use case, right? I mean, that's what you,
yeah. So even in this, in addition to salt consumption, we also expose those parameters. So in addition, if you make some changes in your states and if your parameters have changed, those will be also exposed at that layer.
So I think the text box that we entered information as, those were passed as pillars, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you could specify like a PHP version text box. where
yes,
If a team wanted a different version of PHP.
yes, yes,
They could select one and then the state should consume that value.
yes. So imagine you have 10 parameters for your state. Only for 5, maybe you want to get inputs on the request form. I'm just making this up. So we consume those parameters as a kind of a custom properties internal construct. I won't go in there. But what you can do is for those parameters, you can define which parameters you want to expose on the request form versus which parameters you want to kind of keep hidden.
right, like the IP address, maybe you have some workflow that queries the info box with the next IP.
Yeah, something like that if you're using
So they
IPAM and
wanna
stuff.
hide that, or the server name, next sequential in the order, or name it after
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Correct.
All right, so
So just to kind of finish up, so we were able to order an application. It does take a little bit of time. Oop, and it looks like it's complete. So it actually, when it hooked, it actually ran this workflow. It set up a new application. So let's take a look. One thing that I did, I left off. So we were able to run the job that installed WordPress. But if we went, and let's take a quick look here.
Bruce,
Yeah,
just,
are we
just
time?
one thing.
Are we out of time?
We are almost at the time, so.
Okay. I guess I just wanted to show one additional piece is that we can take this and add all kinds of other interesting pieces to this.
Yeah, so
Because
this
I
is the
didn't turn
request
off,
form that we are
like,
showing.
day 2. I did not turn on access to port 80. So if I were trying to go to 151,
So you want to do lifecycle actions and stuff. For example, change the module. Right-hand side, you'll see the modules and stuff. So Bruce, I want to invite Nitin over as well.
what, just we're done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
If you guys want to spend more time, I'll be over in the VMware pod to show more.
Yeah, we are
So-
running a demo there as well. So if you have specific questions, we'll be able to take those questions. Just the last piece, Nitin, if you can please come on the stage. So I think we talked about that bridge. So going from Salt to VMware as well. So Nitin is doing a session tomorrow on that VMware driver. So Nitin, if you can please just talk about that couple of minutes and we can conclude.
Yeah, so tomorrow I have a session at 2:30 p.m., 2:30 to
3:15 probably.
in Venice. It's going to be using Salt Cloud from the command line to deploy VMs and VMware infrastructure, and also do some of the common tasks like taking snapshots or listing all VMs, upgrading VMware tools, managing your ESX host, and some basic functionality. So yeah, if you're interested and you have a VMware department and you use Salt, definitely.
All right. I don't want to steal time from the next session. So thank you so much, guys. We'll hang around for a bit, about 10-15 minutes. So if you have any specific questions, meet us here. Thank you. Thanks so much for being with us in this session.